Hello everyone, and a special hello if you're a beginner in the backpacking world. In today's video, I'm going to try and save you some time and money. How, you might ask? By telling you a few gear items that you may as well just purchase right away. So you will come to find over time that there's just some quote-unquote standardized items that a lot of people will chintz on or buy different versions of in the beginning of their backpacking journey. So there's a few items, starting with what I'm wearing on my feet. Trail runners. You're probably familiar with hiking boots, and the fact of the matter is, a pound on your feet is 7 pounds on your back. And most backpackers will discover quickly that a trail running shoe is a far better choice. It also drains water better than those heavy leather boots. And to go along with the trail runner idea, it's also pretty imperative that you wear either natural or synthetic socks, with the exception of cotton. So one thing every backpacker is going to need is a water filtering system. And what is most popular, and will probably save you a lot of time from researching bladders and all the other different options, is just a simple like smart water bottle or whatever water bottle you want to carry. Usually a 1 liter with this size cap is the best option. But more importantly, there's a lot of different water filters out there, and my preferred water filter is the Sawyer Squeeze. There's 3 different sizes. The full size Sawyer is my preference, and with that I bring a Canuck bag. So what makes the Canuck nice is there are 2 different sizes. One works with the Sawyer Squeeze, and the other, to my understanding, works with the Katadyn Be-Free, which is another popular water filter. But I go with the Sawyer because it's reliable and you can find it almost anywhere. Walmart, all sorts of places just on the shelf. This, however, you got to order from a website like Hilltop Packs or Garage Grown Gear, obviously at Canuck.com, I would assume. But the reason these are awesome and better than the bags that come with the Sawyer itself is it has this wide mouth. And I'll show you real quick how that works. And then on top is just this lid that seals it shut. And I often use this. I will fill up my bottles right now and probably carry one of these full to camp. They're really reliable, pretty puncture resistant. And this is the original one I've ever had it's probably 3 years old. So let me show you how I take the lazy man's route to filter my water. All right, so I'm going to show you 2 ways to use this Sawyer Squeeze. Number 1 is the gravity filter. And you can use lots of different ways to tie it to a tree. This is the speed hook from Apex Giant. Handy little gear you can use to not only gravity filter your water, but hang your backpack, use your imagination. But back to water filtering. You just unscrew the cap of your Canuck bag, screw on your Sawyer Squeeze, and then the key for gravity filtering is to have one of these little couplings, which is in my pocket somewhere. That screws onto your Sawyer Squeeze. Remove the lid from your smart water bottle and place that someplace where you're not going to lose it. Free camera crews are not worth it. Spend the money. Okay. So Canuck bag, Sawyer Squeeze, coupling, smart water bottle. You turn that upside down, and hands-free water filtering. Let me show you a close-up. And the second way, hence the name, is to squeeze the water out. Requires less pageantry and gadgets. Tara, why don't you give him a little close-up without getting any moose knuckle in the shot. And there is a third way, and that's just to hook it right up to your water bottle or go like this. That's what the minimalists do. Okay, perhaps one of the most critical pointers of the day is that most of you will be tenting when you first start out backpacking. I'm an avid hammock camper, but tonight I am tenting. And my biggest message to you is when you go find a sleeping pad, the most important, and this is critical advice, go for the 25-inch wide. It is well worth the weight penalty, and if you try to go with the 20-inch wide pad, you're probably going to wind up disappointed. There are a few different options for inflating your sleeping pad, one being your wet, moist breath, which is really just kind of gross, and 2 and 3 being one of these pump sacks, which you just inflate with the air around you, and wind works particularly well, or one of these electric pumps like the flex tail pump that comes with a lot of different valve sizes and will fit with most pads. So tonight I have brought for Tara the Nemo Tensor, and I have a budget option from Near Zero. There's a lot of great brands out there. Pay attention to details like the thickness of the pad and the R value, which translates to how warm it will keep you at night. The Nemo, I believe, is a 4.2, probably good down to about 30 degrees. And the Near Zero is a 3.7, so probably 35 degrees or so. But again, the most important thing, go with the 25-inch. You won't regret it. Another thing you might as well purchase right away is a 500, or more preferably, a 750 milliliter pot. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's really versatile, especially if you're doing backpacking meals or ramen. You can do a lot of different things in here. Now, if you want to get fancy with things like eggs, Spam, etc., you might want to invest in a frying pan or a little bigger set. But the beauty of this 750 milliliter pot, this is from Apex Giant. There's a lot of good brands out there. The beauty is that I can fit a small stove, another thing you'll probably end up buying anyway, rather than a jet boil or bigger setup, and a mini Bic lighter, and you can nest your fuel in it as well.
You want your feet in the picture?
No, just like up here. Another thing you're going to wind up buying is a headlamp. And there's a lot of good brands out there. Petzl, one of the more popular ones that I carry, is the Nicor. But my biggest tip for a headlamp is to get a rechargeable one. You're going to carry a battery bank with you likely, and Type-C rechargeable headlamp is a lot handier than having to replace like a rechargeable headlamp is just simply better than replacing AAA batteries, not only for the environment, but it's a lot more convenient and less weight to carry. Well, we're on the topic of the digital world. Let's talk about battery bank. Again, lots of different brands, lots of different choices, but my number one recommendation for size is at least the 10,000 milliamp, especially for multi-night trips. This one by Anker will charge my phone probably 4 or 5 times, and it works for my headlamp, my flex tail pump, and most any electronics I carry with me. Another must-have for beginners and veterans alike. Number one, a paper map of the area and the ability to read it, hopefully. But in the digital world, get yourself an app where you can download maps offline. In other words, maps that you can use when you don't have signal. It's pretty important, as most nature areas can be dicey. And I use All Trails, which is kind of ragged on a lot, but in my part of the country it works awesome, and I like to do the cheapest option possible. All Trails I don't recall, but it's very cheap. Sleeping bag versus quilt. It's worth considering. However, you're probably going to wind up with a quilt sooner or later. It's less fabric, less weight, and in reality, the bottom side of a sleeping bag gets compressed and doesn't provide much for insulation anyway. So quilts are probably what you're going to wind up carrying. So beginners, this advice is not 100% accurate. There are lots of different preferences, such as people like the cocoon feeling of a sleeping bag, the sturdiness of a boot, things of that nature. I'm only basing this entire video on what I see on trail and the preferences I've developed over the years. And I really am just trying to save you some money, or at least make you think on what kind of things you want to purchase, so you don't wind up with 3 different sleeping pads before you find the right one. But that's about all I have for this one today. It's been fun hanging out. We'll see you real soon.